Name's Ibrahim and welcome back to another Flyer video on my channel. So today's video is a little bit special because I'm going to make a tutorial of how to start up the aircraft Cirrus SR22 in XPlane 10 Mobile Flight Simulator. But we are going to make a tutorial according to real-life aircraft as well. So I hope that you will basically enjoy, and therefore, without counting the tutorial of the startup procedures in this aircraft, I'm also going to tell you interesting features and facts about the Cirrus SR22, or as I actually call it as well, the new generation of the Cirrus SR20. So I'm going to tell you interesting facts like, for example, the engine, because this aircraft is single engine one aircraft with 4 seats. And I'm going to tell you probably about the maximal altitude, maximal cruise speed, and more and more. So I hope that you will basically enjoy, and don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe to the channel, and we are basically going over to the startup procedure tutorial right here in the simulator. So there we go. We need to go over to the cockpit and then begin. So the first thing we will begin with is the pre-flight procedures that we need to do before the main startup. So what we need to do right now is to open the door with the help of the door handle like this. This one is optional because you can open both of the doors in this aircraft, but I'm going to open just one door in this case because we need to cool down the cabin a little bit because the cabin is kind of warm before the startup common, so we can basically go over to the next step. The next step we need to do is to check that the caps handle safety pin is removed, if it's possible to do that in your flight simulator. If not, we can just basically skip that step and go over to the next one. So what we need to do right now is to check the circuit breakers, and we need to make sure that they are flush. If so, then we can go over to the parking brakes right here, and we need to make sure that the parking brakes is engaged. If so, we can begin with the main startup procedure. So what we need to do first of all is to go over to the main panel right here, turn on the battery 2 and battery 1 to position on, and the strobe lights as well. Then we need to turn on the avionics like this, and as you can see right now, the flight management computer is on, which is a Garmin 1000 for this aircraft. So we need to go over to the next step. So the next thing we will do right now is to go to the fuel selector down below right here, and we need to turn it from position off to left or right side, which is also optional, but in this case I'm going to choose the right side. So we need to turn the fuel selector to right or left, so you can choose between those two. Next step we are going to do is to go to the power lever right here, which is also close to the fuel selector, and we need to pull the power lever to full or the throttle to maximal. We are doing the same thing with the mixture, so we are pulling to full. Next step we need to do before the startup of the engines is to go over to the panel that we was going to before and turn on the alternator 1 and alternator 2. Then we need to make sure that the K is inside the ignition switch right here. So what we need to do before the startup of the engine is to make sure that no one or nothing is around the propeller or the aircraft area. So if you can see someone right here, then we just scream clear prop, then we close the door, and we're beginning with the startup of the engine. So what you need to do right now is to turn the K or rotate the K to the right side in the ignition switch like this. As you can see, the engine is now started up like this, and then we just let the K be as it was before. So the engine is now started, excuse me, and we are going to the power lever again. So what we need to do right now is to slowly pull the power lever to the idle and then to the maximal again. So we need to complete this procedure slowly 3 times. This is the second one, to idle, then to the maximal again. If everything is okay, then we pull it back to idle, and we need to set the boost pump to position boost. So as you can see right now, guys, the engine is on, or the engine is set, and we are almost ready for taxiing. But what we need to do right now is to go over to this panel again and set the exterior lights. So we need to turn on the navigation lights. Landing lights, we don't need them right now, so we just turn on the wing inspection lights and the pilot heat. And we also turn on the TKS pump pickup, window heat. It's also optional if you want. It depends if the weather is cold or not. And the ice protect, we don't need it right now because it's the summertime. So we are basically probably ready for the taxi, but we need to set the flaps to 50%. It's also optional, but I don't think that we need it right now because it can be kind of windy. So we are basically going over to the next step in this startup. So we are not going to make any flight plan in this case. I can make a separate video about it soon if you want, so you can comment down below in the comment field. Suggest new video ideas. I can even make separate videos about the Garmin 530, Garmin 1000 and the advanced flight management computer if you want. So you can basically comment down below. But we are going over to the next step in this tutorial, which is to make sure that all the controls is working fine. So what we need to do for this one is to first of all check the throttle or to check the joystick is working good. So what we need to do is to pull it down. Imagine that it's landing. Then pull it back to the neutral position and then pull it fully back. If everything is working, we are doing the same things with the sides. So we need to begin with the right side, or you can begin with the left side as well, it's also optional. So I'm going to begin with the right side. We are pulling it fully to the right, and then we are pulling it fully to the right, left, excuse me, like this. So if everything is working fine and we have the joystick in the neutral position, we can begin with the exterior inspection or the exterior check of the controls. So what we need to do right now is to check or to switch the view from the cockpit to the exterior one, and as you can see here's the aircraft. So we need to go to the back side like this, where the rudder is located actually. So what we need to do right now is basically in fact the same things we did in the cockpit, but a little bit different probably. So what we need to begin with is to check that the elevator is working fine for horizontal stabilizers. So what we need to do, in fact the same thing we did in the cockpit as I repeated. So we need to begin with the joystick pulling it down or up like this. So fully up and fully down, taking the cockpit like this. Everything is working fine with the horizontal stabilizers or the elevators. Then we can go over to the next one, which is the rudder control. So we need to use the rudder and just move it first to the right side and then to the left side. Take the neutral position. If everything is working fine, we can go back to the cockpit. We are almost ready for taxiing procedure. And I almost forgot to say that we are today located in Västerås airport in Sweden, where often student pilots fly, excuse me. So there is what it is actually, but I don't think it doesn't really matter. But we are going to make a go-around flight very soon, and during the time we are making the go-around flight, so we are going to take off from Västerås airport, make a circle around the airport, and then make a landing in the Västerås airport again. So we are basically beginning with the taxi, and there was the tutorial of the startup without the FMC planning as well. So yes, we need to count with that as well. And we can go to the taxi. So what we need to do right now is to go to parking brakes, set them to off, and just begin the taxi. So during the time we are taxiing and making this go around flight in this airport or around the airport, I'm just going to tell you interesting features and facts about this aircraft. So I hope basically that you will enjoy. So guys, we are going straight over to the facts and interesting features of the aircraft Cirrus SR22. This is the best-selling aircraft in the 21st century and commonly used in flight schools. As you guys probably already know, the Cirrus SR22 is a single-engine aircraft with 4 seats, and the engine is Continental IO 550. So basically, the maximal speed of this aircraft is 377 km per hour, which is approximately 203 knots. This also means that the Cirrus SR22 have better engine than the Cirrus SR20, which had the Continental IO 360. The max sailing of this aircraft is 25,000 feet. So the cruise speed is often 339 km per hour, which is perhaps or approximately 183 knots. Fuel capacity of the Cirrus SR22 is 84 gallons, which is much higher than the Cirrus SR20 had before. And one of the most interesting facts for the Cirrus SR22 and other Cirrus aircrafts is the Cirrus airframe parachute system, which is the whole plane ballistic parachute recovery system designed specially for all certified Cirrus aircrafts, which means that the flight is much safer. And if something emergency or if an emergency situation happens, the parachute helps you to land on the ground safely. So without the Cirrus SR22, other aircrafts, as for example the Cirrus SR20 and the Cirrus SF50, includes the parachute system or the Cirrus airframe parachute system, which of course makes the flight much safer, and if something emergency or if an emergency situation happens in the air, it makes your landing on the ground much safer for both pilots and the passengers on board. And also one more extra fact is that the Cirrus airframe parachute system had been deployed and used 103 times, saving more than 200 people in the emergency situations, which is, imagine guys how much people did stay alive because of the Cirrus airframe parachute system basically. So we need just basically say thank you to the Cirrus company. And it's also according to the data provided by Cirrus. So lastly, this was basically everything for today's video, so I hope that you enjoyed and learned something new out of this, and I hope that I see you guys soon. Don't forget to like, subscribe to the channel, click the bell to always get the notifications and information about the new videos and flights on my channel. And now I just wish you to enjoy this pleasant flight or this pleasant go around flight, and I hope that I see you guys soon. Have a good day. Bye bye.